Hi, this is a wrap-up for the Heart-A-Thon. I'm going to do the gesture. I don't know, it kind of annoys me when some athletes do that, but it does grow on you. I'm going to be going in the order of what I read first, and the first book I read, which I don't actually have with me, I donated it. It was The Fastest Man Alive by Usain Bolt, and I chose it for the resistance category, but it doesn't really count as resistance. A 3-star read. I enjoyed it. It was good. I wasn't expecting. Apparently, Usain Bolt eats quite a bit of junk food. That was the most surprising thing I've read in a autobiography. I think he likes KFC and McDonald's. And for an athlete, you don't, especially the fastest man on earth, you don't expect that. I think I would say the most famous Jamaican. There's a bit where he says he doesn't agree with that. He says that Bob Marley is the most famous Jamaican, and I think it depends on generation-wise. For younger people, it would probably be Usain Bolt as the most famous Jamaican, but older people would probably say Bob Marley, but that might not always be the case. The second book I read, and the best book I've read this year, is Am Malala by Malala, and I keep having trouble pronouncing this. Yousafzai. I'm not exactly sure. It's. I think everybody knows who Malala is, as the youngest Nobel Prize winner, one of the biggest champions of education who's ever existed, still exists. According to Wikipedia, is studying at Oxford, and is studying to become a doctor, maybe in her final year. I'm not too sure. There's the struggles really of sort of being a female in that part of the world, although I don't know, she'll go back to Pakistan, the thingy valley where she's born, and I don't know, maybe it'll change and maybe Malala will be the I think second Prime Minister of Pakistan after Benazir Bhutto, who's mentioned in the book. Very moving book. There's a lot of terrible things happening, but somehow they keep going. The bits about family I thought were very moving, and it's a very humbling book. I think, well, I have to admit that I take education for granted, but in my defence, education does not stop with high school. It's always ongoing, always continuing. You can learn a lot of things here on YouTube. As I said, 5 stars. This is the best book I've read this year. And coming very close to being the second best book, maybe. Definitely a 5-star read. It's Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. I'm a bit of a Bruce Springsteen fan. I own 1 or 2 CDs, although they're lost somewhere. It starts, so this book, I would say, is the closest thing to the American dream that there is. I think, in my opinion, he's a descendant of European immigrants. I'm not exactly sure where his sort of ancestors came from. Might have been somewhere like Holland or Belgium, maybe. And lives born in New Jersey, and gets a guitar, learns how to make it talk, to quote the line of Thunder Road, and he becomes a rock and roll icon, one of the biggest names in music. And it's about really that journey. I could also say that Born to Run is really America itself. I think it is about America itself. It's history from World War II. Bruce Springsteen was born 1949, sometime after World War II, maybe. And the 50s, the 60s, goes up to the Vietnam War, which was a sort of big part of his growing up. The 80s, the Reagan years, the 70s, when he was really starting to find his way in music, the forming of the E Street Band, right up to 9/11 and beyond, to about 2014 roughly. Yeah, it's also really poetical. I'm going to read a passage, just a little bit. 129, I think it was on. I'm going to try and do a really bad Bruce Springsteen impression, so I apologize in advance. Finally exhausted, we drifted off to sleep. When we woke at dawn and stepped out of Gopher's front door, we stood speechless before what we saw. Giant old grove trees, vegetation so lush you'd get lost a few feet in off the walking path. Color winter-blown flowers all set on a verdant mountainside that looked out high over the sun-filled emerald-green Pacific. If you watched for a while, you could see whales spouting in the distance. I never stood in the midst of nature like this, and you could feel its humbling and intoxicating power. I approached a tree the likes of which I'd never seen before, covered with what appeared to be strange multicolored leaves. As I walked towards its base, thousands of butterflies exploded off its branches and shot into the hard blue sky. This was another world. So, see, I apologize. There was another passage somewhere at the start, sort of describing a sort of working class sort of background and where he lived. He was born and grew up, and it sort of reminded me of a passage from The Postman Always Rings Twice by oh dear, I can't remember the name. I think it's Raymond. No, it's not Elmore Leonard. I don't think it's James Ellroy. Raymond something. Raymond Chandler. That might be it, but very sort of similar passage. There's also quite a bit about race relations in America. One particular song called 41 Shots has a really tragic sort of note, considering modern events, recent events. And he talks a lot about Clarence Clemens, the saxophonist for the E Street Band, the biggest member of E Street Band. And there's a bit about the loss of him. Bruce Springsteen himself is quite famous for struggling with depression. There's some very powerful passages about that sort of towards the end, although it's a running theme in the book, as well as a sort of troubled relationship with his father. My favourite Bruce Springsteen song, which is a very difficult task because he's very prolific and he's done hundreds of songs, I think it's Jungle Land. There's something really epic about that song. It's I think it's the last song on the Born to Run album. Born to Run is the third, I think, Bruce Springsteen album, and the one sort of really launched his career. But Jungle Land has the best saxophone solo by Clarence Clemens, I think. There's so many. And it's quite a long song, and there's an epic storytelling sense to it. I am still currently reading Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. I'm 122 pages in, so quite a bit behind. Maybe I'll get it finished this month. It's interesting and boring at the same time, I suppose, a bit like Steve Jobs himself. There's some sort of technical stuff, not much, but the person Steve Jobs is very interesting. The sort of technical side, the computers, and some of the other background stuff, not so much. But I will finish it at some point. It looks like a chunkster, but I wouldn't say it's a chunkster. It's 500 or so pages. So Heart-A-Thon, very successful. 2 of the best reads of the year. Successful. 3 or 4 books completed. I'm pretty happy with that. Hopefully everybody had a really good Heart-A-Thon. And next year I'm going to switch up and I'm going to go for fiction for all 4. I already have a choice for Prompt 1 Education. If I can get my hands on it, I'm going to read Up the Down Staircase by Belle Kaufman. So I'll look forward to that next year. Thanks for watching. Bye.